It's early 2013. Sun is almost gone. It's one of those cold winter nights. We always will remember 2013, the winter in Europe. The sky's coloring red. That's the only warmth. John, he's had an early break this Monday. It's a special day. And he was cleaning his hands after he's been working in the garage, fixing his car. He's had some cuts in his hand from when the hydraulic jack that he used to lift his car collapsed. The bacteria present in the hand cleaning paste that he used to get the dirt off his hand was already looking for a eating fest in his hand, causing some allergies later that week. The cold water on his hand, however, felt very good. It was easing the burns that he had on his fingers from the chromium 6 in the protective leather gloves that he wore. Still an hour or so before Carol came home. It was a special day. It was the first day that she was back to work after a long sick leave. They had some troubles. She suffered from second-degree burns, and she's been in and out of hospitals. And it took some while to find out where these burns came from. And after long research, it was discovered that there was some sachet of DMF, also called Agent Orange, stapled to the inside of her reclining seat. To make matters worse, she also got hot tea spilled over her. Well, she was in the hospital bed, but the laptop table she used was proved to be unstable. It was a strange year for John and Carol after all, this whole 2012, really. John had suffered himself. He had been in the hospital, and he was on a mountain bike, and he had to be immobilized for a couple of months in the hospital because his steering fork broke down. Terrible. How can this all happen? He injured his back also, just when he came back from the hospital. He went on a mountaineering trip with his friends, and his descending rope, his climbing rope, didn't stop because the descending brake that he bought at the outdoor store didn't work. Anyway, time to set the mood for the day. Carol would be come home soon. So first put on some nice music, and the sound of this stereo was amazing, really. Beautiful, beautiful product. The only negative thing was that this burning smell from this beautiful appliance after it was on for a few days. This appliance definitely was the one he switched off before he left home ever. Put on some candles to set the mood. Put on some water for some tea. And he hated that one. He hated that water boiler. Why the hell did somebody put it on the market with a continental plug and a Chinese one-size-fit-all adapter instead of this beautiful UK 3-pin plug that he expected? Terrible. Hey, something at the front door. There was Carol. And he walked into the hall, and he saw her, and he said, "What happened to you?" Carol said, "You don't want to know. There must be something wrong with this mascara. My eyes are feeling like a burning sensation. I really don't know." And it wasn't my day. We had this presentation this morning, and the boss had a new laser pointer, and he hit me full in the eye. I can't see with one eye at all. And you know, Eve, she was so fond of horse riding, but she lost control of her horse because some part that she used to control the horse, her mountain bit wire, it didn't work. She fell on her head, but the helmet didn't protect her. It was really not one of those days. "Go take a shower," said John, "and I'll start to fix dinner." So John went into the kitchen, only to be amazed, finding that the metallic candle burned faster on the outside than on the inside. No panic. And he took the fire blanket from the kitchen cabinet, put it on the floor, only to see that the bonfire was getting bigger and bigger. So there was the teapot. He kept the teapot, but the handle had come loose from the hot water inside. It scattered all over the floor, just missing John. But miraculously, it made out the fire. Then suddenly a scream from the bathroom. Carol, she fell through the shower seat because some locking bolt broke. John stared at the ceiling and saw a smoke alarm. So this is one story made up from real recall cases happen to real products that you and I all buy from regular stores, from big brands, in the last few months. How can this be? It's impossible. Big names, big brands. This how can be is the same what our governments think. How can this be? In 1993, in Europe, we introduced free movement of goods, services, and people. And we gave back the responsibility of product compliance to the trade and supply chain, to manufacturers. In 1993, to manufacturers. But now, it's 2013. Retail and trade buy goods in China, in Bangladesh, in Vietnam, skipping manufacturers. They buy it at somebody that has a factory, but in fact is a producer. And in 1993, we had product legislation, which was very distinguished. It was about the electrical safety of this product, the mechanical safety of this machine. But now in 2013, we know so much more about chemicals. We have an agenda on energy reduction. We have an agenda on sustainability. A lot of the regulations on products have nothing to do with physical aspects of this product, but on aspects of all the products. So you really need to know your thing when you start to make products. And everybody in the supply chain thinks that somebody is a manufacturer. But most factories in the Far East are a producer. They know how to run an operation that makes a product that looks like something that could be made by a manufacturer. So how to solve this issue? Because we have governments, they do market surveillance, don't they? Yes, they do. They do market surveillance, they do sampling of products, and confront the supply chain with something that is not correct, and let them pay a fine from the profit that they made from something that was not correct. So that's not an incentive to change. There had to be something else. To make matters worse, profits are under pressure, legislation is complex, there's a crisis, and the crisis is also facing the government. So the government is going to change this in a way that a bureaucracy changes this. They do it very simple. Step 1, change the labeling of the problem. Step 2, change the way we measure it. Because if you change that, then you cannot compare new with old. So what is the problem? The problem is we need to bring back manufacturing in this whole complex supply chain. Okay, let's solve it a very, very easy way. We just make somebody manufacture. So what they've done, they've looked at the market like we all do, like a consumer. We buy a product, see a brand, and we expect that brand to be responsible for their product. So they labeled brand owners manufacturer. That brand owners in most ways are also a retailer. Second thing is, we're going to change the way we measure things. So we're not going to test products, because that's costly, doesn't lead to anything. We're going to ask the manufacturer, the new one, we just named the manufacturer, how are you handling the compliance of the product? Oh, that's a shitty question. It's a very easy question to ask, but it's a very, very difficult question to answer, because this means that you need to do due diligence. This means that you need to have proof that you have asked questions. But the first step is, what should I ask? What is the legislation? What should I confront my supplier with? Third thing what they do, and I think that's the key why it actually works, because it did work, is they stopped the punishment of a fine when something is wrong. They said, if you're not going to do the due diligence, I'm going to do the due diligence. And that means that every container that is you're carrying goods with your brand, I will start do the test in my tempo, in my speed, at your expense. And disrupting the logistics supply of retail is the Achilles heel. This makes them move. So it's not as bad as it sounds anymore. It is still bad, but it's absolutely improving. Retail brand owners have now no other choice than to start asking questions. So the first line, that where we buy products, is forcing the second line, the one that supplies, to start to behave and act as a true manufacturer. Will there be no recalls? No, there will still be recalls, but there will be one difference. A recall or something that goes wrong will now lead to an improvement. And that is the old Deming circle. You check, you measure, you plan, and you improve, and then things start to become better. How can you contribute to this? Because it has been a disruptive event. The cause of the TEDx today is disruptive events. Incredible number of recalls that prove that nobody did any checks. And it has changed the authorities in a fundamental behavior that now leads to a change in the market. But we all, as consumers, can contribute to an acceleration of that change. Because you and I, we all need to become more aware about what actually is legislation and safety of a product. Because would you go back to a store if your the adapter standby current was 55 milliamp instead of 50? No, I don't think so. Would you go back to a store if the Mickey Mouse of your plate is faded to half after 30 times using that plate? You just wonder it's going into the dishwasher? No, we just accept it and take it for granted. I'll challenge you to go have a look every week on rapex.eu, which is the European site listing recalls. And you will see big names and big brands having recalls, but you have to look through that point and see, is this guy doing and acting as a manufacturer? Did it just happen because the quantities were huge and is it an acceptable risk? Or is it something that I see every week again and again and again? And you need to wonder, why the hell aren't they improving? Rapex.eu every Friday. Go to cpsc.gov in the US, which is the same, and subscribe to these sites and become aware of the problems that they are facing and try to see if they are solving it. All right? So what happened to John and Carol? You can find out yourself later. I'll put the reference to all the recalls on the TEDx site. Well, it was a hectic day, so they called it an early night. Carol thought she catch the cold. She went to bed, put her on her electrical blanket. But not before John impressed her with his new tattoo. Thank you.